Are we on? Yes. I'm looking for the fire, but I can't see it anywhere. So I hope Oliver will light the fire in you for Deutsche Hospitality. Thank you for being here.
Sounds like a plan. I'll grab a
Take a
mic.
seat.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more like the hot seat, not the fireside
Don't
chat.
worry,
So,
don't worry.
all the others had sort of backup on stage. We got to carry the stage by ourselves here.
We don't need a backup. You are the man and who will tell us all about Deutsche Hospitality. But before we begin, in 1 week, Oliver will celebrate his 1 year with Steigenberger GmbH, where he's the CEO, and which of course is also known as Deutsche Hospitality. They run, very quickly I tell you, they run about 150 hotels in 19 countries with 8 brands. And we are eager to look forward to what the plans for the future are. We have in front of us a very unforgiving time machine. So we now have 19 minutes and 01 seconds left. We hope there is also time at the end for a few questions from the audience. Oliver told me he's happy to field any questions that you may have. Tell me first how you feel after 1 year with Deutsche Hospitality.
Well, I showed up last year on April 1, so everybody thought it was an April Fool's joke. But I'm still here a year later. I feel great. We have, I was born in Hamburg. I then spent most of my life overseas. But as a German hotel boy, of course, Steigenberger is always something that, is sort of very aspirational and carries a lot of legend and carries a lot of history in the European and the German hotel industry. So I found it to be a huge privilege to be working with and for this team in and around Steigenberger and bringing it into the next generation with all its brand portfolio that of course has gone there in the meantime. So I'm super energized. We've got a lot of good things going. We came through COVID, of course, with a few, battle scars as well, but I think we all did.
That's fantastic. All the best for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yes. I'm not sure I'll make 30, but
or whatever.
I'll make 30, but maybe not at Deutsche Hospitality.
Right. Steigenberger, in its roughly 90-year history, has had 3 owners. Obviously, the Steigenberger family that turned into a shareholding company, then a private equity company, and now Chinese owners. What is it like to work with them, and in what way, to get back to the title of our conversation, the growth strategies for a German-Chinese hotel conglomerate, what is it like to work with them, and to what extent do they help you in achieving your goals of growth?
Yeah. I think, first of all, we have to recognize that obviously the acquisition from H World, as the company is known, of Deutsche Hospitality came on the end of 2019. So then a few months later, the company could say, congratulations, here's COVID. And we have to say that we, as a company, could not have fared better than with a shareholder like H World behind us, who stood behind the company through the most difficult time our industry has ever seen, supported us financially through the crisis with many of the partners here in the room where we had lease obligations and saw us through really, really difficult times. So that was tough for the shareholder. But it was really, in many ways, somewhat of a parachute for us as a company. Since then, there are a few interesting perspectives. I spent almost 10 years of my life in Asia, so I had the opportunity to work with both Chinese owners as well as with generally with Asian investors for quite a while. And working with Chinese owners, I always say is there's sort of this balance between speed and perfection. When you come as Steigenberger and a German company, we look for perfection. We want to get things right. We test them again. We roll them out a little bit, and then ultimately we scale. And the Chinese aspiration is a lot more about speed. And as you roll out, you test further. So there is probably a golden middle between the two of them, but where it really does help us is sitting down with our shareholders and looking what components of the Chinese company are of value for us internationally. And I would sum those up probably for the purposes of this discussion into three areas. One is technology. H World was a technology company before it became a hotel company. So the investment in technology, whether it is on res technology, property technology, guest experience technology, our own intranets, etc., is superb. And it's given us a lot of efficiencies in terms of operating our hotels. So technology is one. Second, of course, is data. And it kind of goes with technology, but the ability to work through a global combined data strategy as to how we harvest traveler data to be able to market efficiently to them. Our Chinese owners have really perfected that in many ways, and at this point we have about 190 million members in our combined loyalty program, so that gives us a lot of marketing power. And then the third part is supply chain. We franchise and operate 8,500 hotels in China. So, and with a highly standardized set of brands. So our focus on the supply chain side is critical because it delivers value to our owners. So the FF&E packaging that we do, we are now bringing that here so that we can work in a much more proactive, conversion-friendly manner and scale our brands in a much more cost-efficient way than we could do it without a Chinese investor like that behind us. So technology, data, supply chain, other than carrying us through COVID, have been huge catalysts for growth for us.
And okay, you told me that they are helping you with FF&E, for instance, that you can deliver cheaper FF&E to a prospective client. Are there any other assistance that they can give you, investment or key money or whatever is required?
Yeah. So if you look at H World, including Deutsche Hospitality, we are sort of a company of two islands, if you will. We're very strong in the German market, and we're very strong in the Chinese market. Two of the three largest outbound travel markets in the world. So obviously our ambition to use that position for other markets around the world is critical. So we now have opened an office in Singapore. We are building out our team and our business development team in Dubai. I'm very keen on the Eastern European market, and I'm fascinated by the conversations that are happening here right now. And with all that, we need, of course, resources to grow. So at this point, we've been heavily vested in leases, which has worked okay for us, but obviously in terms of speed to scaling, it is not as efficient as franchising or management. So with that and our shareholders together, we invest not only in the brands, but we also invest, whether it's key money or other financial models in partnership with our owners. Absolutely. So we have access to resources, not only from the financial perspective, but also in terms of products and services.
Are any Steigenberger knowledge, experience, influence flowing back into China?
Yeah. So we now operate 24 Steigenbergers in China. That is half the portfolio, and they're in the rest of the world. And we will double that by 2026 with the current pipeline. So taking the Steigenberger brand global is one of our top priorities. We've had fantastic success with taking the brand to China. And we are now taking that brand also in other parts of Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. So in China, we have wonderful products. We're very excited about how the brand is resonating there, and we're also exchanging our general managers, and we're exchanging teams between Germany and China to make sure that we can reach the level of quality and operation and have it be a globally consistent brand.
Can Chinese pronounce Steigenberger?
No. They have their own way of saying it, and I can't say it.
Okay. We are here talking about Central and Eastern Europe. What are your plans here? where do you want to go and with which brand?
So Steigenberger obviously is our icon, and it's it's the birth of our group. So we will always look at priority cities, A-level cities in across Europe and across the world for the Steigenberger brand. But specifically with Intercity and Sleep, two of our most significant growth brands, we look at Eastern Europe. There's a slightly different way of how we approach it. With the Sleep brand, it's a lot more, I would call it city penetration. So similar to how we have succeeded in Copenhagen with the brand, we have about 12 Sleep hotels in Copenhagen. We go selectively into other cities to make sure that this very efficient operating model of Sleep hotels, which is highly digitized, highly automated, can scale in other cities as well. So Sleep, critically important for us, and we're very energized in terms of bringing Sleep further to Eastern Europe. We're going to open in Prague later this year. I just had a chance to chat with Penta, the developers of the hotel there, and we're very grateful for that partnership. So Sleep is front and center in terms of the growth there. Intercity is similar. That brand has also seen some adjustments in terms of its positioning. We've refreshed it in a more urban, a little bit more, I'll follow the theme from this morning, a little bit more sexy, way more technology driven. It's a little bit more urban, a little bit more edgy in terms of the concept. And in fact, the Intercity here in Vienna will be one of the hotels that is seeing some of that redesign. So Sleep and Intercity will be front and center in terms of our growth strategy with partners. In some cases, we would lease ourselves, and in other cases, we're very happy to manage and/or franchise in Eastern Europe.
You answered the question before I asked it. You will do franchising.
We absolutely will. I think that when we lease 87 hotels somewhere in that neighborhood around the world. So we know how to operate. We know how to manage a bottom line, and we know how what a brand needs to deliver to a hotel, because we're in the business ourselves. And we feel and we know that makes us an extremely efficient operator, and that also allows us to speak the language of owners. So we know how to operate it, how to define the brands, and then ultimately have that be valued to franchising. So yes, franchising. Happy to do more of it, and we're structuring our brands and our operating model to be able to do more franchising.
Okay. Our unforgiving clock says 7 minutes. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, Miss.
No, hi. My question is about distribution, especially to incoming Chinese guests, let's say, in Europe, because you mentioned the supply chain help and the technology help you're getting from the Chinese. Are you also getting help on that score? I would imagine so, but...
Yeah. So our Chinese business right now, with the 8,000 plus hotels, is I would say primarily about 90% of it is an economy business model. So, and it is specifically structured around the domestic market. Now with the introduction of, we've opened Intercity hotels in China, Steigenberger hotels in China, Max hotels in China. We're introducing our international brands to the Chinese traveler and to our Chinese travelers. And with that, we are seeing, I would say, a leg up in terms of us being able to capture the Chinese traveler. We're very excited in terms of the potential of them coming back, and particularly them coming back because it is native ground for us. It's a home game for us in China. We have now created we call it a welcome, basically a welcome back program to Chinese travelers, which is an operational delivery of expectations that the Chinese travelers would have in our hotels, whether it's breakfast, whether it's services, whether it's in language service, etc. To make sure that this also feels like home game from them when they come here. Particularly our H Rewards program, with that we're able to capture their needs, be able to address them obviously against their needs, and develop operational products to fulfill those. So I expect late second quarter, we will start seeing significant volume. As we've spoken today, a lot of it depends on visa and flight capacity. So we're dealing with the same restrictions as everybody else. But beyond that, we're very optimistic in terms of us being able to gain significantly out of the Chinese market.
Any other questions?
Hi, Oliver.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Okay. You just mentioned the supply chain. You're going to make in FF&E more whatever. Do you bring them from China over? And how do you balance this out in your ESG balance?
So, if I take the Sleep brand, for example, I look at Sleep as being a brand that needs to be recognizable on design programming, but not on space programming. Creating a Sleep brand is about recognizing it by its Danish design, by its simplicity of operation, etc. So this makes sense when we take a hotel and reposition it with a full package approach. So we can take the bathroom, we can take the FF&E, we can take the furnishing of the lobby, etc. Have it produced for the most part, not all of it, in China, and consolidate it in terms of shipping here. Frankly, the efficiency of bundling that and shipping it here is probably not hugely different than having it manufactured in other parts, in scattered parts across Europe, and having it shipped to another location in Prague or in Madrid, etc. So, but it works well when it's bundled and when there's multiple properties and, or of course, one larger property.
I think there's one more question there. I can hardly see it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious about, you've mentioned intercity hotels, Sleep, Steigenberger. Could you share a bit some of your thoughts regarding the lifestyle segment of your brand portfolio? Jazz in the City, House of Beats, and your plan with regards to that?
Yeah. House of Beats, we've done a lot of work in terms of optimizing it from an investor's perspective. For those of you who know the Jazz in Amsterdam, or also the Jazz here in Vienna, it's a great product. It's a lot of fun. It's got an incredible employee culture. The service culture is very unique and very strong. House of Beats is a brand that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some of our investors, was probably somewhat over-programmed in terms of its investment requirements. So we have spent a lot of time in terms of making it a lot more conversion-friendly, making it something that can be in primary cities, in secondary locations, or in primary locations in secondary cities. We see potential there, but it will remain somewhat of a niche product.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, yeah, there's one ahead of me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oliver. I have a very small question. In one of your interviews, you have said that you did not know all, but you learned it all. Can you explain a little bit more, or can you dive into this mindset of yours?
Now you can get me talking. I can talk for half an hour now. There's an author. Her name is, she's actually a psychologist. Her name is Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. And she wrote a book called Mindset. This has been a little bit of a management and leadership Bible for me pretty much my entire career. And I am of the firm belief that the only way to create progress is if you approach everything you do with a learning mindset and never with a fixed mindset. most people, when they apply for a job, they will show up with a CV, and they will show their CV in terms of everything that I've done so far. With that, I validate the knowledge that I have up until today, and therefore I'm assuming I'm a valid candidate for you. I approach it differently and saying, okay, I've learned a lot up until today, and therefore I know a lot up until today. But the most important question that I have is, how much can I learn from others, from situations, from external factors, in order to create progress? So I go through my day and through my life and through my interactions, not with a mindset of what do I know, but what can I learn? So my motto, therefore, is I don't want to be a know-it-all, I want to be a learn-it-all. And I think with that, you create energy, you create momentum, you create engaging conversations, because if I want to learn, I will ask you a lot of questions. If I know, I'm going to expect that you ask me a lot of questions, and I'm just going to pretend that I have all the answers, and I don't.
Thank you, Oliver. I think we have all learned something from you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for asking intelligent questions.